First contact. The isolation of Deep Space Communication Station 47 had never bothered Zora Blackwood until the night the stars began to dance. She sat at her monitoring station, surrounded by the soft hum of equipment and the occasional ping of distant satellites. The facility, perched high in the Chilean Andes, was humanity's ears to the cosmos, listening for signals from the void. Zora adjusted her headset, frowning at the unusual pattern emerging on her screens. The signal didn't match any known cosmic phenomena. It was too structured, too precise. As she began running analysis protocols, the air in the room shifted, becoming dense with static electricity. The lights flickered, and Zora's instruments went haywire. She reached for the emergency protocols manual, but before she could activate any containment measures, a shimmer appeared in the center of the room. It started as a pinpoint of light, expanding into a swirling vortex of iridescent energy. From this ethereal display emerged a figure that defied explanation. Tall and graceful, with skin that seemed to absorb and reflect starlight, the being before her took human form, but was clearly something else entirely. Her hair floated as if suspended in water, carrying points of light like captured stars. "Your signals," the being spoke, her voice resonating with harmonic undertones. They reached across the void. I had to know their source. She moved with liquid grace, each step leaving faint luminescent footprints that faded moments later. Zara's scientific training warred with her instincts. She should be terrified, should be triggering alarms and calling for backup. Instead, she found herself captivated. "Who? What are you?" "I am Mixus," the being replied, her eyes shifting colors like an aurora. "I come from what you call the Andromeda Galaxy. We are the luminary, shepherds of stellar energies and collectors of stories." As Nixus explained her origin, Zora noticed how the various monitors and equipment in the room seemed to respond to her presence, their displays flickering and energy readings fluctuating. "The signals you detected," Nixus continued, "they were not just random broadcasts. They were songs of your species, carried on waves of electromagnetic energy. They drew me across the vast distance between our worlds." Zara found herself relaxing despite the extraordinary situation. "Why did you choose to appear to me?" "Because you listen," Nixus replied, moving closer. "Among all the minds I sensed on this mountain, yours was the one truly open to the stars. But there is something else." She hesitated, her form flickering slightly. "Your species possesses something unique, an energy signature I've never encountered before." As they talked through the night, Zara learned more about the luminary. They were ancient beings who had evolved beyond physical form, sustaining themselves on various forms of energy. But something about human consciousness fascinated them, particularly Nixus. "Your minds," Nixus explained, reaching out to touch a computer screen, causing it to pulse with soft light. "They create patterns of energy unlike anything in our experience. It's intoxicating." The conversation was interrupted by a sudden alert from Zora's systems. Something massive had entered Earth's atmosphere, something that shouldn't be there. Nix's expression changed, her ethereal features showing concern. "They followed me," she whispered, her form becoming more agitated. "I didn't think they could trace my path so quickly." "Who?" Zora asked, but she already suspected the answer. "Others of my kind, but they do not share my fascination with your species. They see you as a resource to be harvested, your consciousness, your energy. They would drain it without concern for your survival." The warning sirens began to blare throughout the facility. On her screens, Zora could see multiple atmospheric disturbances converging on their location. She had a choice to make: raise the alarm about the alien presence or trust in this beautiful, dangerous being who had chosen to reveal herself. Nixus turned to her, her form starting to fade. "I must go. They cannot find me here, or they will know what I've discovered about your species." "Wait," Zara called out, making her decision. "The station has underground levels, shielded from all forms of detection. If what you're saying is true, we need to understand what we're dealing with." Stay. Help me protect my people. Nixis paused, her form solidifying again. The lights in the room dimmed as she seemed to draw energy from them. You would trust me, knowing what I am. I trust that you chose to warn me, Zora replied, already entering the codes to access the secure sublevel. That has to count for something. As they descended into the shielded chamber, Zara couldn't help but wonder if she was making a terrible mistake. But watching Nixis move through the space, touching Earth technology with such wonder and curiosity, she felt something else too. Hope. Perhaps this first contact would lead not to conflict, but to understanding. Hunger and heart. The underground chamber hummed with the steady pulse of backup generators as Zara worked to establish a secure connection to her superiors. Beside her, Nixis's form flickered like a candle in wind, her ethereal glow dimming noticeably. You're weakening, Zara observed, pausing her work at the communications console. The alien being had grown increasingly transparent over the past hours, her once brilliant aura now pale and unstable. The shielding. It blocks more than detection, Nixis admitted, her voice carrying an echo of strain. We luminary require constant energy absorption to maintain our form. Here, cut off from the ambient energy of your world, I cannot sustain myself indefinitely. Zara's scientific mind raced with implications. What kind of energy do you need? The generators. No, Nixis interrupted, moving closer. Mechanical energy sustains, but barely. What we truly need is more vital. She hesitated, her form rippling with uncertainty. Consciousness energy. The power of thought, emotion, life itself. Understanding dawned on Zara. You feed on consciousness, like some kind of psychic vampire. A crude comparison, but not entirely inaccurate. My kind can absorb the energy patterns generated by conscious minds. Normally, we take only surface thoughts, memories, leaving the host unharmed. But those who followed me. Nixis's form darkened momentarily. They are not so careful. Above them, the facility's sensors registered multiple impacts on the mountain. The others had arrived. Zara watched as readings showed energy signatures similar to Nixis's, but more intense, more predatory. They're searching the facility, Zara reported, monitoring the security feeds. The staff, they're falling unconscious wherever these beings pass. Her heart raced as she watched her colleagues collapse one by one. Nixis moved to the screens, her weakened form casting barely any light now. They're feeding indiscriminately, taking too much. This is why I've been searching for alternatives. Our hunger doesn't have to mean destruction. Making a decision, Zara stepped away from the console. Take some of my energy. No, Nixis recoiled. The risk is calculated, Zara interrupted. You're different from them. You've proven that by warning us, by showing restraint. And right now, we need you at full strength if we're going to stop them. Their eyes met, Zara's determined brown against Nixis's swirling cosmic hues. Finally, Nixis nodded. I will be as gentle as possible. Try to relax your mind. The sensation began subtly, like the first hints of sleep stealing over consciousness. Zara felt Nixis's presence brush against her thoughts, delicate as starlight. Memories flickered through her mind. Her first telescope as a child, graduating from university, the joy of decoding her first deep space signal. Then something unexpected happened. As Nixis fed, Zora caught glimpses of her memories too. Vast journeys between stars, the symphony of solar winds, the loneliness of centuries spent searching for something she couldn't name until now. When it ended, Zara stumbled slightly but remained conscious. Nix's form had solidified, her glow restored to its former brilliance, but her expression showed surprise and concern. That was different, Nixis said softly. Usually the exchange is one way, but you saw into me as well. This has never happened before. Maybe humans aren't just food, Zora suggested, steadying herself against a console. Maybe we're capable of true exchange. Symbiosis instead of predation. Their discussion was cut short by new alarms. The other luminary had detected the energy transfer, despite the shielding. They were converging on the underground chamber. "They know now," Nixis said grimly. "They know humans are capable of sustained energy sharing without harm. They'll want to study you, experiment." She moved protectively closer to Zara. "I won't let that happen." The chamber's reinforced door began to glow with heat as the luminary outside attempted to breach it. Zara quickly accessed the facility's last resort protocols on her terminal. "The station has an electromagnetic pulse generator, strong enough to disrupt your kind's energy pattern, I think. But using it would mean disrupting me as well," Nixis finished. "Do it. Better temporary dispersal than allowing them to harm more humans." Zara's hand hovered over the activation sequence. "Will you survive?" Nixis smiled, her form brightening momentarily. "The energy you shared with me. It's different from any I've encountered. Stronger, more lasting. I believe I can reform after the pulse." She moved closer, her light enveloping Zara like a protective cocoon. "And I believe I'll be able to find you again." The door began to crack. Out of time, Zara initiated the pulse sequence. The last thing she saw before brilliant white light filled the chamber was Nixis's form expanding to shield her from the blast, their shared memories dancing between them like countless stars. The pursuit. 3 days after the EMP incident at Station 47, Zara found herself in a secure government facility beneath Washington, D.C., facing a panel of stern-faced officials. The debriefing had lasted hours. Her account of events met with skepticism and barely concealed alarm. "Let me understand this clearly." General Thaddeus Rivers leaned forward, his weathered face illuminated by harsh fluorescent lights. "You not only made first contact with an alien species, but also willingly allowed one to feed on your consciousness." Before Zara could respond, the facility's lights flickered ominously. The panel members exchanged nervous glances as their tablets and phones simultaneously lost power. A familiar sensation of static electricity filled the air. "She's here," Zara whispered, both relief and anxiety flooding through her. The darkness coalesced into Nixis's luminescent form, though something about her had changed. Her energy signature seemed more focused, more controlled. The security teams raised their weapons, but General Rivers held up a hand, stopping them. "Your weapons would be useless," Nixis stated, her voice carrying new authority. "But I haven't come to fight. I've come to warn you. The others, they've gone into hiding among your population. They're feeding selectively now, learning from their mistakes at the station." Dr. Reena Patel, the panel's xenobiologist, stepped forward despite her colleagues' protests. "You're different from when Zara first described you. The energy exchange, it changed you, didn't it?" Nixis moved closer to Zara, trails of light connecting them briefly. "The human consciousness is remarkable. When Zara shared her energy with me, it created a permanent change in my energy signature. I can now sustain myself on much less. And the connection." She paused, looking at Zara. "It persists." The room erupted in urgent whispers, but Dr. Patel pressed on. "The others of your kind, could they be changed as well?" "No." Nix's form darkened momentarily. "They're too consumed by hunger, too set in their ways. They see humans as batteries to be drained, not beings to connect with. And now they're organizing, planning something larger." General Rivers stood, his military bearing asserting itself. "What exactly are they planning?" "They've discovered that human consciousness energy can be stored, transferred. They're building collection centers, disguised as New Age meditation retreats. Humans go in seeking enlightenment, not knowing they're being slowly drained." Zara pulled up satellite imagery on a working computer. "Here," she pointed to several locations across the globe. Unusual energy signatures, matching the pattern from Station 47. "They're not just feeding anymore. They're harvesting." The implications hit the room like a physical force. Humanity wasn't just facing invasion. They were facing systematic exploitation on a global scale. "There's more," Nyxus continued, her form rippling with concern. The stored energy, they're using it to open a portal large enough to bring more of my kind through. An army of feeders. Dr. Patel's eyes widened. The consciousness energy. It's not just food for them, is it? It's also power, fuel for their technology. Correct, Nyxus confirmed. And they found that human consciousness is particularly potent, more powerful than any species they've encountered before. General Rivers turned to his staff. How long? The portal requires an enormous amount of energy, Nyxus explained. At their current rate of collection, 3 days. The room erupted in activity, orders being given, plans being made. But Zara noticed something else. The way Nyxus's form seemed to pulse in sync with her own heartbeat, the flood of shared thoughts and feelings between them growing stronger. There's something you haven't told them, Zara said privately to Nyxus as the others argued strategy. The connection between us, it's evolving, Nyxus admitted. Each time I'm near you, it grows stronger. I can feel your thoughts, your emotions, more clearly than ever. And I think you can feel mine too. Zara nodded because she could. Beyond words, beyond physical sensation, she could sense Nyxus' presence in her mind, not as an invasion, but as a harmonious duet. This is what they're afraid of, Nyxus continued. Not just that humans could resist them, but that we could truly bond, become something new together, something beyond either of our species. Their conversation was interrupted by General Rivers. Dr. Blackwood, if what your friend says is true, we need to move now. Are you both willing to help us stop this invasion? Zara looked at Nyxus, their shared understanding flowing between them like starlight. Yes, they answered in unison, their voices harmonizing in an almost musical way that made several people in the room step back. But, Zara added, we do this our way. No mass casualties, no weapons of mass destruction. There's a better solution. We just have to prove it's possible. As the military and scientific teams began their preparations, Zara and Nyxus shared another moment of silent communication. They both knew that stopping the invasion was only part of the challenge. The real test would be showing both species that there was another way, a path of synthesis rather than predation. The countdown to the portal's opening had begun, and with it, the race to save humanity's consciousness from becoming mere fuel for an alien harvest. Evolution. Nestled within an abandoned mining complex in the Nevada desert, the largest meditation retreat and secret luminary harvesting center, pulsed with an eerie blue glow. Zara and Nyxus observed from a hidden vantage point as dozens of unsuspecting humans entered the facility. The energy readings are off the charts, Zara whispered, checking her modified sensor array. The device, developed by Dr. Patel's team, could now detect consciousness energy signatures. They must have thousands stored already. Through their strengthened bond, Zara felt Nyxus' mix of horror and determination. The facility below wasn't just a feeding ground. It was a battery, storing stolen fragments of human consciousness, like a grotesque library of dreams. Commander Bishop, we're in position. Zara spoke quietly into her comm unit. A small team of specially trained operatives waited in the shadows, each equipped with consciousness energy detectors and modified EMP devices tuned to luminary frequencies. Remember, Nyxus projected into their shared mental space. We need to reach the central storage chamber. That's where they're collecting the energy for the portal. Their plan was risky. Instead of trying to stop the portal from opening, they intended to modify it. Nyxus believed that with her evolved understanding of human consciousness energy, they could transform the portal into something entirely different. The infiltration began smoothly. Using Nyxus' ability to mask their energy signatures, the team slipped past the outer defenses. But as they approached the central chamber, everything changed. "Welcome, sister," a voice echoed through the corridor. A figure materialized, another luminary, but different from Nyxus. Where Nyxus now glowed with a warm, steady light, this being flickered with cold, hungry flames. "Helios, Nixis acknowledged, still serving as the harvester's attack dog. The male luminary's form rippled with anger. While you've been corrupted by these primitives, we've discovered their true value. Human consciousness. It's not just food, it's transformation. Watch. Helios gestured, and the walls around them became transparent, revealing massive chambers filled with swirling energy. But what made Zora's blood run cold was the way the energy moved, not like stored power, but like trapped souls. You're not just taking their energy, Zora realized, horror mounting. You're capturing their entire consciousness. Primitive but clever, Helios smiled, his form brightening. Each human consciousness, properly processed, can power our technology for years. The portal is just the beginning. We'll turn this entire planet into a consciousness farm. Through their bond, Zara felt Nix's fury building. But there was something else too, a plan forming in their shared mental space. You've forgotten what we truly are, Helios, Nixis said, moving closer to Zora. We were never meant to be parasites. We were meant to be symbiotes, growing together with other species, not consuming them. As she spoke, Nix's form began to change. The energy connection between her and Zara became visible, a bridge of light that grew stronger with each passing moment. What are you doing? Helios demanded, his confidence wavering. Showing you evolution. Zara and Nixis spoke in perfect unison. Their separate energies began to merge, creating patterns of light that defied physics. The transformation was beautiful and terrifying. Where Zara and Nixis had been separate beings, something new emerged. A hybrid consciousness housed in both physical and energy form. Their merged awareness expanded, touching the stored human consciousness around them. Now, their unified voice commanded. The strike team activated their devices, not to destroy the stored energy, but to release it back to its owners. The chambers erupted in chaos as thousands of captured consciousness signatures sought their original bodies. Helios launched himself at them, but their merged form was too powerful. They caught him in a web of hybrid energy, forcing him to experience what they had discovered: the potential for true synthesis between species. You see, they spoke to him, their voice resonating with dual harmonics. This is what we could all become, not predator and prey, but partners in evolution. The stored energy continued to escape, flowing back to the meditation retreat above, where confused humans were awakening from their trance-like states. But not all the energy dispersed. Some of it remained, drawn to the merger of human and luminary consciousness at the chamber center. Through their shared awareness, Zara and Nixis realized what needed to be done. The portal couldn't be stopped. Too much energy had already been committed to its creation, but it could be changed. Their hybrid form began to glow brighter, drawing on both luminary knowledge and human innovation. The portal's energy matrix began to shift, its purpose transforming from invasion to invitation. What have you done? Helios whispered, his form wavering between resistance and fascination. Created a choice, they answered. When the portal opens, it won't bring an army of harvesters. It will offer a path to voluntary synthesis, a way for both species to grow together. As if in response to their words, the portal's energy signature began to change color, from cold blue to a warm gold. The transformation was beginning, but its success would depend on what came through from the other side. Commander Bishop's voice crackled over the comm. Dr. Blackwood, are you still in there? We are here, they responded, their dual nature stabilizing into something permanent yet flexible. And we are ready for what comes next. The portal's light grew brighter as the countdown to its opening reached its final moments. The evolution of two species hung in the balance, and at the center of it all, a hybrid being waited to show both sides a new path forward. Synthesis. The portal's golden light illuminated the underground chamber as the moment of truth approached. The hybrid consciousness of Zara and Nixis maintained their vigil, feeling the pulse of two worlds through their merged awareness. Around them, The rescued humans were being evacuated while General Rivers' forces secured the perimeter. Through the shifting energies, more luminary began to appear, not as invaders, but as observers. They were drawn to the unprecedented merger of human and luminary essence, sensing the change it represented. "The old council has arrived," Helios announced, his form now stabilized but transformed by his exposure to the hybrid consciousness. "They will want to understand what has happened here." 7 luminescent beings materialized in a circle around the portal, their ancient forms rippling with both power and curiosity. Unlike the harvesters, these luminary radiated wisdom rather than hunger. The eldest among them, a being called Vex, spoke first. "We have watched your species consume countless civilizations across millennia. Yet here, on this small world, something unprecedented has occurred." Through their merged consciousness, Zara and Nixis responded. Humanity offered another way. Not dominance, not submission, but true partnership. The chamber filled with whispers as more luminari arrived through the portal, each one sensing the possibility of change. The hybrid being at the center began sharing their memories. The first meeting at the station, the willing sharing of energy, the gradual strengthening of their bond, and finally, their complete synthesis. "But what of our hunger?" another council member challenged. "Our species requires consciousness energy to survive." In response, the hybrid being released a pulse of energy that touched every luminary present. Through it, they felt the difference between taking energy and sharing it, between consuming and connecting. "The hunger can be satisfied through synthesis," they explained. "When both species choose to share, the energy becomes self-sustaining. We become more together than we ever were apart." Dr. Patel, who had refused to evacuate, stepped forward with her readings. "The energy output from their merged form is exponentially higher than the sum of their separate signatures. They're not just combining. They're creating something new." The council members conferred in silent communion, their forms shifting through spectrums of light. Finally, Vex approached the hybrid being. "You offer our species a choice," the Ancient One observed. "Continue as consumers, eventually depleting every consciousness we encounter, or evolve into something greater through willing partnership. Not every human will choose synthesis," the hybrid acknowledged. "Not every luminary will accept change. But those who do will pioneer a new form of existence." The portal's energy shifted again, responding to the collective consciousness gathering around it. It was no longer just a doorway between worlds. It had become a bridge between possible futures. General Rivers, watching from the command center, spoke through the comm. "Whatever's happening down there, it's affecting similar facilities worldwide. The harvesters are standing down." The hybrid being reached out, touching the portal's surface. Through their connection, both human and luminary observers felt the potential flowing through it, the possibility of a future where consciousness could be shared rather than stolen, where evolution meant growing together rather than consuming the other. "We offer this choice to both our peoples," they announced, their dual voice carrying the weight of prophecy. "The path of synthesis will not be easy. It requires trust, willingness to change, and the courage to become something new. But it offers both our species a future without end, an eternal dance of shared consciousness and infinite growth." The council members, one by one, approached the hybrid. Each touch brought understanding. Each connection sparked transformation. The hunger that had driven their species for millennia began to change, becoming something more like yearning, not to consume, but to connect. As the last light of day faded above the desert facility, humans and luminary began the delicate process of learning to coexist. The hybrid being that had once been Zara and Nixis remained at the center, a living example of what was possible when two species chose to evolve together. "What do we call this new form of existence?" Dr. Patil asked, her scientific curiosity overwhelming her caution. The hybrid being smiled, their merged form shimmering with both starlight and human warmth. "We are the synthesis, the first of many. Through us, both species will find not just survival, but transcendence. Above the facility, the desert stars seemed to pulse in harmony with the portal's golden light, as if the universe itself was acknowledging the birth of something unprecedented. The night that had begun with the threat of invasion ended with the promise of evolution, as two species chose to reach not for dominance, but for synthesis. In the years that followed, humanity would face the challenge of sharing their world with beings of pure energy, while the luminary would learn to give as well as receive. But in that moment, in a chamber deep beneath the Nevada desert, the future changed course, guided by the power of connection over consumption, of synthesis over subjugation. The hybrid being that had shown the way remained as living proof that love could transform not just individuals, but entire species. Their story would be told across two galaxies as the beginning of a new era, the Age of Synthesis.